Well, hello there. Short talk in the trailer with the old guys. Welcome, Uber Tuber Ubers, one and all, great and small. That might be my intro now. We're working on that. The executive producer suggests that we have a tagline. Though, it's a Friday morning, just had a few minutes before I'm going into work. It's maybe 10 after 7, and I thought, well, you know, I've been thinking about some stuff here in the last day or two. I haven't done hardly any videos. I tried to do a video the other day underneath that house, and what a mess. I almost lost the phone down there, and a lot of it was just dark. You know, it was like, and it was like, what was that? It hit my head again. What was that? It hit my head again. And it was just a dumb video, so I let it go. But anyway, the short version being, I guess there's a short version in here somewhere. It's a Friday, and I've been thinking, I didn't want to hardly look at stuff today. Got up, really don't want any part of looking at how the world is busy going to hell in a handbasket today. And, it's as if you're supposed to be, the crucial burning issue is that you're supposed to be uh, currently up to date. Up to date with it's like when you have someone in their terminal phase, and they're in the hospital, and the families, they're under a lot of stress, and there's a lot of sadness, whatever. And you get these updates, well, Grandpa's liver just failed. Oh my gosh, is there anything? Well, we're going to put him on, dialysis or whatever. I guess that's for kidneys, never mind. But anyway, these constant updates on the decline of Grandpa as he slides into the dirt. The United States, the world itself, by golly, the institutions that we had trusted, the wheels are falling off, and 2024 ain't even here yet. It's gonna be a weird one. So I got to thinking, the thing that, for an old guy, if you were talking to an old guy, hey, you are small world. How about that? If you're talking to an old guy, be prepared to hear things like this. Well, damn it just wasn't that way when I was a kid. These youngins, they ain't got no sense, or something like that. But I think if you translate that into, so I would say, coherent English, you might get something that sounds a little bit like what's been bothering me in my mind. It's just, think about a race, okay, a foot race. I remember years ago there was, I believe it was the New York Marathon, and there was a woman, I can't remember, Rosie somebody. I don't recall her name. This is probably 20 years ago, but at any rate, making that part up. And so she shows up as the women's top finisher. She's like 6 minutes or 8 minutes ahead of the next woman, who's actually the leader in the marathon. This woman comes cruising across the finish line at the first for the women, and wait a minute, who's ever heard of her? She's not a ranked runner, and she's not even sweating. Barely sweating a little bit. And so the judges came in later on, and took the award away from her again after the fact, after it became rather apparent that she stepped into the runway, the route at about, mile 25, and just ran the last mile. And palmed herself off as if she was the winner of the race. Like no one was going to notice, see? And so it's like that, like no one's going to notice. So the theme in the Bible that deals with this is judgment. There is a judge. And so at the end of the race, the judge came in and said, now, wait a minute. How could any of this be? And they examined the evidence, and they examined testimony. People said, I was in the crowd, and I saw her step forward, and she walked right by me, and then next thing I know, she's running down the road. And there's judgment. And what that means is that, is this real? Does this cohere with what's actual? Did you really run the race 6 minutes ahead of really world-class runners and not sweat in the process? No, she didn't. She lied. And so there's fraud, there's corruption, there's who knows what, and all kinds of sexual perversion. By the way, I'm changing the subject just a little bit. The church, our church, and a whole bunch of other churches here in town have gotten together to sponsor an event at the convention center, and I've been invited to go. So I'm going to go and listen to Jim Caviezel, I think that's how you pronounce his name. And there was two other speakers, although he's the big name one in my mind. So I'm going to do that tonight, and I'll do a little update maybe tomorrow if I have time. Or maybe I'll take some video over there. Probably illegal. And I just thought, well, judgment is this thing that the Bible is big on. It's in the prophets, Moses, all over the place. Jesus Christ himself. Talk about some terrifying statements. The whole motif of judgment, the whole idea is that he is coming, and he's coming to judge furiously. In other words, he's outraged, pissed off to the hilt, at almighty levels of pissed off. What does that even mean? Well, as far as we know, he's going to sweep evil off the face of the earth completely. But it goes beyond that. As far as we can tell, he's going to sweep the face of earth off of the face of earth. We're talking about a deconstruction, an uncreation. The church doesn't mention this. It's in their documents. It's in the Bible. But you can hardly ever get a Christian who ever even mentions the fact that, as far as we can tell, this world itself is going to be destroyed. Well, that could happen in our, what we would call natural lifetimes, whatever that is. I mean, I'm 65. I've got, 10, 12, 15 years. It's hard to say. Ask the insurance companies. They got all the statistics. But the point is, when judgment comes, there's no arguing, there's no dickering, there's no dilly-dallying. You're dealing with the Almighty King who's come as a warrior, and he's furious. And all of this corruption in D.C., all of this corruption in Brussels, all of this vile mistreatment in China, all of this, racial injustice in India, all of the insanity of this world, it all comes to a halt. Absolutely. And that's the whole point. That's why the gospel exists. The church tries to run the gospel as if it was like this little monopoly on the side where we're going to talk about God's love and God's warmth and God's welcome and God's, open arms of love, 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 love. Did I mention love? But it's entirely alien to the construct. The construct is, given the reality of judgment, what are you going to do as a human being? Frankly, nothing. Except get squashed. There's no hope for any human except in Christ, except under the blood, except through Calvary, the empty tomb. The Savior steps in and he makes all the difference for his people. For the others, for those who do not trust him and do not believe him and hate his guts, judgment. And so, judgment and destruction. Now, the church ought to know this. The church ought to be saying these things. And hate Joe Biden, hate Donald Trump, hate big shot around the world, hate Bill Gates. You're not going to get away with this forever. You are being held accountable. I'm being held accountable for every word, for every thought, for every intention of the heart. Who could stand under that? Only one man in history. That's why the gospel makes sense, because of the background of judgment. If you don't put judgment in the background where it belongs, then the foreground of the gospel doesn't make much sense. It just sounds like this sentimental old weirdo who can't seem to get over the fact that his people hate his guts. And they're not going to get over it on their own. We cannot come out of this insanity that Adam built for us unaided. We need assistance. He calls his children back from the dead. So, judgment is the word for Friday. Yay. And you judge. You judge for yourselves. Will corruption, will mistreatment of little children and, rape and terrifying people and blowing people up, will that pass the bar of almighty justice? Is God going to be pleased with that? Is he going to reward you? I don't think so. I don't think so. And you don't think so either. And if you want to lie about it, go ahead and lie. But the reality is this. He is our King, Jesus, is the sole hope of the humankind, human species. I don't care, black, white, red, brown, short, tall, female, male. Sorry, there's only two. Female, male. And the idea is, in our world, everyone's trying as hard as they can to forget one thing: judgment. Don't you forget it. It's what makes the gospel go, baby. So you get out on a Friday and you make something happen, and treat people well, because, well, he does. He treats you well. And so you just pass along, out of the wealth of new found welcome in him. You're able to welcome others and turn around and not be so darn harsh and narrow-minded, shall we say. I don't know what you're talking about. None of us are perfect. None of us are even close. But he's the one who makes all the difference. And in judgment, your future is already set aside if you trust Messiah. You are set aside, and you are safe. You will not be destroyed at that day. That's what the gospel is about. And the church, has she forgotten it? We hope not. So you remind somebody, remind yourself at least, that it matters. Everything matters. He's coming to judge what's real, what actually happened in the real world. And if you can't match the standard of righteousness there, then hope goes down the toilet. But hope comes back. He calls back from the dead. That's the whole central axiom of the gospel. So it's the Christmas story kind of being told in reverse. How about that? So you have a good day, and I think it'll be a wonderful day if you'll just keep your eyes open, think about it, pay attention, and give thanks in the middle of it. He knows what he's doing. That makes one of us. Have a good day. Bye-bye.